right, let me get my mic on real quick.
All right. Well, we're thrilled to be here. We enjoy this forum a lot. For those of you that have never seen one of these, what we do is we start from the judge's point of view, which is me. And I really have the easier job because I get to say, this horse should have more of this or this, and I'm going to give you my scores, and I'm going to tell you why I'm giving those scores. So you'll learn a lot about judging methodology. Also, we were really, really lucky that we do have the new tests that will be released Monday to the public. So we can't copy them and hand them out. But what we are going to do, Debbie and I went over them last night, and there are quite a few new movements that are, some are resurrected from past test years, some are brand new. So we are going to go through all of the new movements that you've not seen before and show you how they should be ridden, and a little bit with the geometry, a little bit with the quality, and so we're excited to do that, and we want to thank USEF for allowing us to do that because it's very educational. Now you'll be the first ones to have the inside scoop on these new tests, so that's exciting. But my job, like I said, is sort of easy, and being a judge, really all I have to do as a judge is I have to look at what you do, I have to give you a score, and then I have to be able to justify my score. And if I'm a really good judge, then I will give you a positive comment, something that's going correctly in the movement, and then I'll be able to give you a comment about something that you could do to improve that score. Now, I say my job is easy because after I do that, then I turn it over to my friend Debbie, whose job is to fix those little things. And I think sometimes that's why I say the judge is easier, because I don't have to fix it. I just have to talk about it. You have to fix it.
That's right.
Yep.
That's
so,
my job.
That's her job. She does a darn good job of it, too. So I think you will really enjoy the format. If you have questions as we go, I don't know if ODS has little index cards that they've handed out, but if not, just take a piece of paper, write your question out, and you can just lay them here on the table after the break and after lunch, and we will go through them, and usually there's similar questions, so we will be sure to make sure that we answer all of those every day. Okay? So first of all, we would like to welcome Nikki and Carrie. Now, what we're going to do with these two is we're going to talk about your perfect horse. Even though my book is for the not-so-perfect horse, we want to know what you need to look for to find that perfect horse. So we're going to tell you, and then it's up to you to find the money to buy that horse, because, you know, we can only do so much to help you, right? But at least you'll know what you're looking for. So with these two, we're going to look at their gaits first and talk a little bit about the quality of gaits and what you should be looking at. And then we're going to do a little bit of the bathing suit deal, where we're going to ask the riders to dismount and stand their horses up for us so that we can go over their conformation and discuss a little bit the necks, the throat latch, the legs, you know, pieces that can create some problems in training. So hopefully this will be helpful to you all when you go look for your next partner. So Debbie and I talked about this a little bit last night, the walk.
Yes.
And Kira Kirkland once told me that the trot you can fix the most, the canter a little bit, and the walk you can only ruin.
Very true.
And I have to tell you, in Grand Prix, and Debbie and I have seen this, and you can have an 8 or a 9 trot, 8 or 9 canter, and if the walk is a 5 or a 4, somewhere in that line, it's going to count quite a lot against you, and it's also going to bring the gait score down. So
Well,
whatever.
Actually, a very good description of that is you can have a horse going through the entire first trot tour and with a little PF massage in the beginning before the walk and be up to a 75, 76.
Yep.
After the walk, it's down to a 71 if it doesn't have a good walk. So that's how important the walk becomes, especially in the Grand Prix.
Right, that's true. Yeah, because you see the score going along, and then all of a sudden it's like
it plummets. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you have to work hard to get that back up.
Yeah, and it's you can only have so many 8s, 9s, and 10s.
Exactly.
So it's tricky. So when we talk about the walk, first thing, of course, on the training scale is rhythm. And rhythm is talking about the footfalls. Now, every so often I'll have a student's test come back where the judge will say, good rhythm. And to me, that's a dumb comment because you either got it or you don't. It's like being pregnant, right? You either are or you aren't. So I think what we have to talk about a little bit for your education is rhythm and tempo are two different things. In the U.S., we have a very sophisticated vocabulary and a judge's glossary, and we try to be very, very specific. In Europe, again, because they have to judge in English, a lot of times they aren't as specific because they don't have quite so many of the words. One of my German friends one time said, I really want to do a good job judging in English, so I'm going to give you a German word and you give me the American word. So he gave me the German word and I gave him 3 sentences. And so he finally realized, he said, wow, it's really hard to judge in English. I said, yeah, it is. It's a lot harder than you think. But when we talk about rhythm, we're just talking about the footfall. Talking about the repetition of the footfalls. So if you think of trot, trot is a 2-beat rhythm separated by a moment of suspension. So think of Piaf, okay? Piaf has the quickest tempo in trot, and Passage has the slowest tempo. And then we have in between all of those collected, working, medium, extended. But basically it's all trot. So what we're doing in those different trots is changing the tempo. We're not changing the rhythm, okay? Now, we have 2 other words that we use, and we can use it in the walk, and we also use it sometimes in the trot work and sometimes, a lot of times in the Piaf Passage. And those 2 words are unlevel and uneven. So when we say the horse is taking unlevel steps, we're talking about the height. So if you think of a horse with string halt, that sort of snatching the hind leg would be unlevel. You see it often in Passage, where one hind leg gets a little bit higher and more active. Uneven talks about the length of the stride. So you can see that in walk quite often with horses when they have some tension. One hind leg will take a shorter stride. You also see that sometimes in the medium or extended trot, one hind leg is short. Occasionally, not so often I would say, in a medium or extended trot, you'll see a front leg. One front leg gets higher.
Yeah.
Okay?
It articulates a little
Yeah,
bit more.
and we would call that an unlevel front leg. Okay, so we have different terms, just so you know when you get these on your tests, you should be able to discern a little bit what the judge is talking about. So let's look at our walks. We have Nikki and Carrie, and thank you very much for coming. We appreciate the demo riders a lot because this is not so easy to come and have us talk about you in front of all of these people. All right, so Deb, let's look at the walks on these 2 horses.
Okay, Carrie's the lighter bay, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay,
So let's talk about Carrie's first.
all right.
what I love about Carrie's horse is that it's really relaxed and swinging through the back.
Very much so.
And if you all look at the neck is just slightly, it's not quite parallel with the ground, it's just slightly lower, but the nose is in front of the vertical, and the horse is really moving and walking through the back. Eric Letta, who's used to be the head of the FEI Dressage Committee, says that a good walk should look like Marilyn Monroe from behind. Now, when I say that to my young students, they go, huh?
Yeah,
So and then I have to go like,
You're dating yourself.
I'm dating myself, but everybody here looks sort of old.
She has a nice overstep as well.
Exactly. But think about a lot of you try to hold the neck down too low.
Yeah.
Okay, when you're in your test doing your free walk. And I know that a lot of judges are obsessed with how low the neck goes, and the comment will be more stretch or lower. But that's really wrong. When you hold the neck down, the neck can't move, and it cuts off the reach in the shoulder. So I think Carrie's horse has
A beautiful neck hair.
yeah, beautiful
I love that.
neck,
Yep.
very free shoulder,
Yep.
good overstep. So, I mean, for me, I can't give it a 10 because I've seen a little bit more freedom.
Absolutely.
But I think for me, depending on the transitions, which would be the modifiers,
Yeah.
I think easily an 8 or a 9.
I agree. I'd say a 9.
Okay. Why not?
That's what the trainer always says about the judge, right?
Well, but you know what? Then when we put you trainers in the judges' chair, you guys are so low scoring and you're so
I know,
crabby.
we're
You're
mean.
horrible.
We're
You're mean. Yeah.
terrible. I
So,
know.
like, go figure. But I think if you look at this walk, you have to say there's really, really good qualities to it.
Very much. I love
Okay,
it.
so let's look at Nikki's
Nikki's.
horse, the black horse. And Nikki's horse also is very nicely relaxed
Yeah.
and swinging. Fairly free in the shoulder. I don't think he has quite as much shoulder freedom as the bay horse, though. It's a
But,
little,
and interesting, though, has a longer overstep.
yeah,
So that one, for me, will be interesting when we do pick up the reins a little bit.
exactly.
To see
What happens
then
with
what
the rhythm.
happens to, yeah.
So clearly for me, the black horse is 1 mark lower than the bay horse. So if we give the bay a 9, we'll give the black horse an 8.
And I think only because what you said, I think the shoulder freedom
Mm-hmm.
is what takes that down just a little bit more.
Yeah, the front leg is just,
Not-
you
yeah.
all see what we're talking about? Front leg is a little quicker on the black horse. It doesn't have, what we want to see in the modern horses is we want to see the horse in all the gaits lift the shoulder first and then step through with the leg. Okay, and I think that's a little here in the walk. The horse is moving the leg, but he's not lifting the shoulder first a little bit. Where I think the bay horse has that little bit of lift and then reach. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the trot and the canter.
Yeah.
If that changes. So with the more modern horses, we're also looking for a much longer foreleg.
For sure.
Okay, if you
It's
look at
changed a lot. The
Totally.
sport has changed. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, if you look at the old style horses, you'll notice most of them, even if at the withers they're level, you'll notice the hind legs are longer than the front legs. And when we talk about the scores getting higher and higher and higher in dressage, there's a couple things. I think the riding and the training is improved, for sure. I think the quality of the horse has totally changed. They're a much different type than the old square, big, heavy things that we used to ride.
Yeah,
And also the Grand Prix test is easier.
that's true.
You know,
That is very true.
5 movements. I mean, back in the 70s and 80s, the Grand Prix test had the medium canter with the flying change at X.
Yeah. Had that horrific zigzag.
Yeah, there was another 6.
Another 6.
Another 6 strides in the zigzag until finally someone said, has anybody ever given a 10 on the zigzag? No. Well, maybe then it's too hard. What do you think? So they took out one whole half pass, one whole 6. They took out the walk pirouettes.
Yeah.
They took out the shackle, which is the halt, the rein back, forward, rein back, forward. So, you know, basically, the test is a little bit easier and shorter. So, also, judging methodology has changed. Back in the old days, 1 mistake, 4. I mean, when I started judging in the 70s, that's what we were taught. So if you had one little whoops in an extension or one change that was late, 1 mistake, 4. And that was it. So it was actually pretty easy to be a judge back then because you just said 4, 4, 4, okay. But then Eric sort of changed that and he said, whoa, wait a minute, we're not paying any attention to the quality of the horse. And you have to realize the horse is an athlete, the horse is one of the, it's not just all about the rider, even though we know it's all about you, honey, but yeah. Anyway, it's got to be about the horse, right? And so we have to say, let's say, who can we think about? Let's say Vallegro. If Vallegro had the same test, and I was showing my famous little Joe Doc Leo bar Doc Leo at Grand Prix, and I had no mistakes, and Vallegro had no mistakes, who should win? Well, and you better say me.
Of course, absolutely.
But back in the old days, because the quality of the gaits was not thought about, it was a little bit more of a gray area. Now, obviously, if you take the quality of the gaits first, which is where we start our judging methodology, so right away we have a 9 and an 8.
Yeah.
Okay. And Joe Doc Leo Bar Leo usually is about a 6. Okay. So I can have good training and I can get 2 points higher than my gait score for good training. Okay. So don't despair if you don't have an 8 or a 9 mover. All right. Good training counts. But if all things are equal, the better athlete is going to win.
Yeah.
Okay, if things are not equal, the better training's going to win. Okay,
All right.
so it's all equally
pick up
important.
our reins a little bit. And
So let's think medium walk, because we have young horses here. So Carrie's horse keeps the rhythm. And Nikki's horse gets a little tricky.
yeah.
So if you have a horse, so Nikki, here's a hint. Cheat. I didn't really say this, but yes, cheat. What you should think about, if you have a horse that has a little bit of a rhythm problem, make the frame longer.
Yeah.
All right? Let the horse have a little more freedom in the contact, because the judge will probably say, could have more contact, blah, 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 and still give you a 6. If you have the perfect frame, but the rhythm is bad, the frame doesn't count. All right, you're going to get a lower score. So in Europe, with all the young horse tests, they ride the medium walk with a very long rein.
Yeah, they do.
They do. They do not attempt to shorten the horses as much as we do here in the U.S. So we need to be a little smarter.
But see, that's already better there, Nikki.
Yeah, perfect.
And again, you know, also you guys are dealing with young horses, and the connection is not always steady and secure. And I noticed that you have a fat, this mic is not working all the time, is it?
No.
Okay. Anyway, so again, those are things that can get better. Not that the walk itself will get better, but just through little transitions and halts and trying to get the horse to carry the bit and keep it a little quieter in the mouth will help a little bit of those, the profile, let's say, and help in working that. But this is definitely the ticket for yours right here, Nikki.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely. Okay, now let's go to rising trot. So both horses now we see good or very good walks, and when they come to the medium, The scores go down just a touch, but they're still 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Okay? The trot, when we say we're looking for an 8 or a 9 or a 10 on the trot, it has to look very expensive. Okay?
Yeah.
You have to see now the shoulders coming up with a lot of freedom. You want to see the hind legs articulating and bending and staying a little bit more in front of the tail. And, you know, when we talk about engagement, we want to talk about engagement according to the level of their training. So even a training level horse should have engagement in relationship. They should be level. They should have a level balance. I think both horses to me look pretty nicely balanced. There's no rhythm problems.
No.
They're fairly elastic. And it's great. You can see some little training issues when you think about the training scale. Both horses to the left are having a little difficulty with straightness. Okay? Y'all see the haunches falling in a little bit and the shoulders falling out. And that's very, very normal. Most horses are right-handed, which means they're stronger on the left side. So their left hind leg will be stronger. Their contact on the left rein wants to be stronger. There aren't as many left-handed horses. But I'm thinking here, both horses for me,
Okay.
I'm thinking about a 7. I like the hind legs of Nikki's a little better.
I was going to say, for me, I think Nikki's in the trot, I think is a little bit more, shows a little bit more scope maybe, a little bit more freedom.
It's got a little more suspension. Yeah.
Again, little connection issues going on, but that will change through the training.
Exactly. All right, ladies, could we have canter, left lead, take your time, circle if you need to.
Okay.
Now again, in the canter, we want to see, for a really high score, the horse coming naturally a little bit uphill, having some natural expression up through the shoulders. The rhythm, we have another word we use called cadence.
Yeah.
And cadence talks a little bit about a crisper rhythm. It talks about having a little more suspension in the gaits. Cadence belongs to collection. And so you can't have cadence in the walk because you have no suspension in the walk. But I like Nikki's horse
Yeah.
in the
Actually,
canter.
pretty
And
well balanced too for
Yep.
a 5-year-old.
Yep. See, for him, it's a little bit bump, bump,
Yep.
bump, bump. So that tempo is a little bit
Yeah.
more crisp. All right. Where Carrie's horse has a little bit da-da-da-da. He's a little
Yeah.
bigger, longer, not quite as developed in the canter.
Yeah. Little harder time balancing a little bit,
Yep.
running a little downhill.
Exactly.
But
Okay.
again, that can be.
That's a training thing.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
a training thing.
Because
for
the
sure.
horse is very, I think, elastic and seems willing, and the pieces move well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll change directions and do a little bit of canter on the right lead. And again, we've decided both these horses are left-handed, because they
Good,
were
that's
quite
like me.
crooked. Yep.
I'm crooked too. Just so you know,
Right-handed. You're crooked too.
I'm crooked too.
In other words, they're right-handed, but they're stronger on the left side.
Yep.
So the right lead canter should be not quite as strong.
This looks pretty good.
Looks
though.
pretty good, though.
Pretty good.
Yep. But I think for me, this canter is good. I can give that an 8.
Yeah.
And this one, because of the balance and sometimes the rhythm gets a little muddled, 6.5. But certainly trainable. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not a bad canter. Okay, ladies, let's go back to trot and then walk, and let's do our bathing suit issue. So, you know, we were talking, Debbie, about tomorrow with this group doing either a little position work or having you work with them. Since you've seen them, I think so too. So I think we'll change what I told you. We're very flexible. So tomorrow, what we'll do with you all is have Debbie work with you a little bit. And I think that would be interesting for you all too, to see how she can take what by nature we saw today and improve a little bit.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I think I'd enjoy that.
Okay, so now we have to do this in a way the camera can see and also everybody else can see. So why don't you dismount and run your stirrups up? And then we'll just look at you and we'll kind of put you out here where everybody can see, and then we'll turn sideways so everybody can have a view. It's a little bit tricky. Okay, Nikki, so we'll start with yours. So let's turn this way first, so the camera. All right, so I just did dressage at Devon, so I'm really in practice.
You're the pro.
I'm in practice.
Okay, you do it, girl. I have to work tomorrow, so.
You do. You have to do some training stuff. So what I love about this horse is I love the neck and the head.
I agree.
The neck is really, really pretty here. It's longer on top. He has 3 fingers here in the throat latch, so that'll be easy to flex him left and right. He's pretty. Her. Sorry, girl. She's very pretty. Not that you ride the head, but if it's a little bit charming, it helps, right? So she's very, very beautiful, lovely eye. Something to make sure you look for that a lot of people don't. There are 2 things that they don't do. They don't look at the length of the mouth. And you need to think about this, because if you want to move on to the FEI levels, they have not decided you can always ride in a snaffle like we have here. So you have to make sure the mouth is big enough to carry a double bridle, okay? Yeah. The other thing that I think you can do is just put your hand up here. This occipital bone should be flat. Sometimes you'll feel a horse, it's lower, and if you have this bone lower, your pole is going to be lower most of the time. And if it comes up like this, the horse is going to be a little more difficult to put on the bit. So she's very nice and flat there. I like that. So I love the neck, love the head, love the throat latch area. I look at the shoulder. Most warm bloods do not have a lot of slope in their shoulder. So what you want to look at, you want to be able to run your hand up the shoulder blade and then put your fist in the middle there. And that fist then should be right in the middle of the withers. A lot of times you run your finger up here and you put your fist, and the shoulder's coming in front of the withers. Okay, that's going to be important later think of all the movements we have: half pass, flying changes, passage, extensions, things that really require a lot of reach with the front legs. You need to also look at the angle here from the point of the shoulder to the elbow, and she has a lovely, nice, the length of this angle can make up for a little bit of straightness in the shoulder. Yeah. Okay? Again, if I want to be picky, I'd like to be able to put my fist here behind her elbow, and she's a little tight there in the elbow. Okay? Looks like she has a good saddle area. The loin is level. The rear end has maybe a little bit too much slope here from the hip to the point of the butt, but I do see a pretty nice equal triangle. You want to look at the point of the hip and draw a line down, and you see the stifle's just slightly behind this point. Okay, not bad. Okay, now